Despite the markets being down, Tesla stock is up today as it made a big move. This could trigger a big rally, actually. There's also more good news today, and Gary Black even admitted that he was wrong. Let's get into today's news. British petrol station giant EG Group just announced it will buy superchargers from Tesla. It is the first deal of its kind entered into by Tesla with a third-party charge point operator in Europe. EG wants to expand from 600 chargers currently to over 20,000 across 3,600 locations. The chargers will be available to all electric vehicle drivers. The chargers will be branded EV Point and will leverage Tesla's industry-leading technology. The value of the transaction is undisclosed, but it is probably eventually going to be pretty significant. Even if this particular deal is not significant, this is a big deal, and it's really good news for Tesla. When all of these automakers started making deals with Tesla to access Tesla's charging standard, Tesla stock went from $180 to, at one point, almost $300 basically. And there is a possibility that something similar could happen, but with Tesla basically selling superchargers to these oil companies. And what is Tesla stock doing? Well, this morning it is up, way up. The market understands this is a big deal. And EG Group operates over 6,000 sites across several markets. So they are not just saying, oh, 20,000 chargers, yeah, maybe we'll do it someday. No, they have the resources to actually make it happen. And we also know that Tesla superchargers are several times cheaper to deploy than fast chargers from competitors. And if Tesla starts making even more superchargers, the gap between the competitors and Tesla will only widen. Tesla is sort of getting their hands into everything. But the good news does not stop here. There is more. India is considering a request from Tesla to lower tariffs for imported electric vehicles, according to Indian government officials. So this is becoming official sort of now. Currently, the tariffs are 70% for vehicles worth less than $40,000. So the tariffs are mind-boggling. The officials said the reduced rate under consideration would be 15% for EVs of all prices, but added that the policy had not been agreed with India's government yet. However, it would have some kind of sunset clause, meaning it would expire, but that is not relevant to Tesla really. If anything, Tesla sort of almost welcomes that, because Tesla just needs to test the market. If the market is good and the demand is there, then Tesla will build factories in India. And if that clause expires later, that's actually great for Tesla, because then Tesla will just sell cars made in India, and that would eliminate a lot of competition from overseas. So that sunset clause is not at all a negative. It is a positive that would prevent competition from coming in easily later on, because not that many companies want to build in India. This is not final yet, but under the proposed scheme, India would lower the EV tariff to 15% for 5 years, which is a pretty long time. We also know that a senior Indian commerce minister is traveling to San Francisco this week, where possibly he could meet Elon Musk. Nothing, of course, has been officially confirmed, but we are certainly moving towards that direction. Before, India did not even entertain the possibility of reducing the tariffs. And now we are hearing that the deal is actively being worked on. I say it's good progress. And Gary Black says this could be a huge positive for Tesla if India offers tax incentives to attract EV imports. We also have some good news from Norway. Tesla sales are really picking up, and Tesla just got ahead of Volkswagen. These are pure EV sales. And that's because of the refresh Model 3, right? No. 87% of the sales are Model Y for Tesla. So you just wait until refresh Model 3 deliveries actually start to materialize. I think that could really bump up the numbers. It's of course just one tiny country, but still it's good to look at it. The owner of this vehicle writes, FSD Beta is life-saving software and it already saved me from a near miss on day one of a subscription. It reacted quicker than I did for a car that failed to yield. That's one reason why I prefer to drive with FSD on. Parker's has named the Tesla Model Y as its company car of the year in its new Car Awards 2024. With a choice of 3 powertrains, there is a Model Y to suit a variety of needs and budgets. Overall, a lot of these awards don't really mean all that much, but hey, We'll take it. It's free advertising. There are some that say that Elon Musk currently is disconnected from what Tesla is doing. That's because Elon Musk did not know about Tesla putting their vehicles on cars.com. Elon said, "First I've heard of this, seems odd." There's one important thing to understand though. Some publications are reporting this as Tesla selling through another party, but that's not exactly true. Cars.com still redirects to Tesla's website on those listings. That's where buyers will ultimately buy Tesla vehicles. So this is really just advertising basically that Tesla is buying. And I'm sure Tesla is able to track exactly all of this traffic. So if someone clicks on one of these listings and then buys a vehicle, Tesla sees, oh, that sale came from this listing right here. And I like this approach. Test and see what works. So I personally don't have any complaints about this. If it's not effective, if it doesn't work, if it's not worth it, then Tesla will just stop doing it. There's another hit piece from Business Insider about Tesla. The price war raging over electric cars could spell the end of Tesla. One of the key ideas from the article is that Tesla has no plan with its price decrease and they are clearly desperate. It's a fast track to failure. Well, it is certainly causing a lot of problems for a lot of these other EV automakers because they just simply cannot compete with Tesla. For example, the Ford Mach-E, the sales are not looking good. People just much rather prefer the Model Y. Tesla has sacrificed some of its profits, but competing with Tesla has become a lot harder now. Also, Tesla has just increased the prices in China. It's a bit gimmicky. It's a very tiny increase, but a lot of people supposedly are talking about this. It'll be interesting to see the delivery data that is about to come out from China. It could be that the price increase is telling people, hey, look, if you don't want to wait for another price increase, you may want to buy your car now. Because a lot of people were hoping that the refresh Model 3 would soon receive a price reduction. But Tesla is signaling to consumers that if you're expecting that, you may want to adjust your expectations. Sources revealed that Tesla ordered 3 9,000-ton gigapresses for the Cybertruck. Tesla has said publicly that the production target for the Cybertruck will be 250,000 units, and so the numbers match. 1 gigapress can produce 166,000 parts per year, so 3 of them will produce about 500,000, exactly the number of parts needed for 250,000 Cybertrucks. 1 gigapress is ready, 1 is ramping up and should be ready for Q1, and the last one is still to be built. Now, some of his projections are speculation, but it is based on some decent educated guesses. So I think his guess overall is pretty reasonable. If we see more gigapresses being ordered and delivered, that is going to be pretty bullish for Cybertruck's demand. So if you want to see exactly what Tesla is thinking in terms of how much demand it expects to have for the Cybertruck, watch these gigapresses. Elon responded to this post, and maybe it's actually really good news. Hey Elon, or anyone else on the Tesla team, any guess on when customers might first be able to try out FSD 12? About 2 weeks. If you are a new Tesla stock investor, this probably means a few months. So a few months from now, when Elon says 2 weeks, maybe then it will actually be closer to 2 weeks. However, and don't get your hopes up, but there's some evidence, possibly, that maybe this will actually happen. As unlikely as this may sound, I have not seen any ADAS drivers driving my UPL in a few weeks. This matches the same pattern from FSD beta version 10.69. This could mean a version is in training for a possible public release, as performance in alpha will determine if we ever see it. So it could actually happen, but I'm not expecting it. Bloomberg has their projections out. They are projecting that by 2030, the EV adoption rate will still be under roughly 40%, and that we will reach 75% only by 2040. I think that is going to be not very correct. This is way too conservative. EVs are getting cheaper quickly, and soon it will not make any sense to buy an ICE vehicle. There's some good news from China. The government published regulations to address discrepancies in treating foreign enterprises versus Chinese enterprises. and call upon local governments to overhaul policies that may discriminate solely on foreign or JV entities. So this is good. Violations will be reported and investigated. Tesla has been, for example, singled out in multiple cases in China, where it's restricted to access some parking facilities, like in airports, prohibited on freeways at certain occasions under the name of traffic control. And Ray here makes a prediction. Looks like China is serious about leveling the playing field for real this time by removing roadblocks facing foreign companies. I'm optimistic that FSD will be deployed in China in 2024. That will highlight China's sincerity to treat foreign companies operating in China on the same level with their Chinese competitors. Now, I wouldn't rush to make any strong conclusions from this. Words are just that. These are just words. Once we see actions being taken and the company is actually being treated fairly, then I will change my opinion. Until then, I remain skeptical, but this is a good first step. There's something weird happening here. Tesla just published this video on Twitter for its Japanese customers. And why are these Model 3s covered? Now, Tesla is doing harsh environment testing here, extreme heat, a lot of sand, stuff like that. But why are these Model 3s covered? Is it because maybe it's the refreshed performance Model 3 and maybe it's going to look a bit different? Or is it just because it's an old video? I don't know. But certainly it's a bit strange to release a video with covered Model 3s. I somewhat relate to Steven here, but I do understand other people too. I will never understand people who don't invest with a 10+ year time horizon minimum, says Steven. I mean this literally. I am not wired to think short term. Some people are. I cannot relate to short-term investors just like I cannot relate to people who live paycheck to paycheck. I certainly cannot relate to them, but I do understand them. My parents separated when I was 4 and I lived with my mom, and she only made minimum wage, literally. We did not have any savings, nothing, zero. But even back then I understood that I can't just think short term. I need to think very long term because I need to get out of this situation. So I started reading books, and one of the things that I learned quickly was, the longer your time horizon is, the further ahead you think, the more money you will make. And I'm a math guy, and that logic made sense to me, so I adjusted my thinking. And no one was going to give me a well-paying job, so at 13 I actually started my first little business. And thinking long-term led me to becoming a Tesla stock investor in 2019. And just to be very clear, I think for most people, almost every single person, it makes more sense to actually get a job first, build your experience, and maybe even become an entrepreneur where you are helping the company generate more revenue. Basically, get a job that pays you, but you learn at the same time. But again, at 13, no one was going to hire me, and I was desperate to get ahead. But I had to make a lot of mistakes and learn at my own cost. No one was going to give me a job where I would be able to learn and then get paid at the same time. Volvo has just unveiled this new minivan, an electric minivan, and it is actually their first ever minivan. But it starts at $114,000. The range is fairly decent, though it has a pretty big battery. It's not that fast, 0 to 60 in 8.3 seconds, but it's a minivan, so that's all right. You can pre-order it now in China. It's coming to other markets later. While some companies are halting their EV plans and they are canceling some factories, Hyundai has broken ground on a $1.5 billion dedicated electric vehicle plant in South Korea. It is said that this factory will build 200,000 cars per year. BYD is teasing a new electric SUV as part of its Ocean series. The BYD Sea Lion 07's design was led by an ex-Audi and Lamborghini chief designer, and I think it shows in the design. It will be officially revealed on November 17th, and supposedly this new BYD SUV is designed to rival Tesla's Model Y. We'll see about that. This is a bit of a big moment here. BMW no longer builds combustion engines in Germany. BMW has ended the production of combustion engines at its main plant in Munich, and this was done to make room for the production of electric cars. Alexandra updated Tesla's financial overview. So this includes Q3 financials, and how does Tesla compare to all other companies? Well, cash to debt, second best. Debt to equity, third best. Debt to EBITDA, basically profits, third best. Debt to revenue, second best. Altman Z-score, second best. Altman Z-score basically predicts if the company is about to go bankrupt, and Tesla clearly is not about to go bankrupt. But the rating that Tesla is getting from these agencies like Moody's and S&P, Tesla is ranked third from the bottom out of all of these companies. And this matters because some institutions will not touch Tesla because it's ranked so low, which gives Tesla a lot of potential long-term upside because you know that these ratings eventually will be upgraded. It's just a matter of time.
This car is wild, bro. God damn.
I think that's a pretty typical reaction to the Cybertruck.
Whoa!
There's no way.
How much is that?
They're gonna be affordable. That's what Elon was saying. That's cool. I kind of like that a lot.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
That is the ugliest.
That looks like the Humvee from Halo.
There's no way.
That's awesome.
There is no way.
I'm getting that.
No, we're not.
I am.
I don't think that's real.
That's it. That's cool.
There's no way.
Well, the Cybertruck is real and it's coming very, very, very soon. Just maybe not to Canada where I live. We will have to wait for a little bit longer here. Elon has made a political comment. He says Europe appears to be headed for civil war. There are certainly some tensions here. This is London. These are immigrants, and the other people on the other side are British people, I assume. And it wasn't just words that were exchanged. I'm not going to play these clips, but I think Elon is not wrong to be concerned about this. Gary Black says, I have been wrong and humbled by Tesla stock for 2 years now. Over the last 2 years, Tesla went down 38% versus NASDAQ down 4%. But if you look at the last 5 years, yeah, the picture is not going to be exactly like that. Tesla outperformed NASDAQ by a lot. I tried to incorporate my best revenue and earnings forecast for each Tesla business into my estimated Tesla value, but I have been wrong in my assumption that Tesla wouldn't cut prices to try to accelerate EV adoption, which has caused Tesla margins and earnings to erode sharply. I do expect many more price cuts. Now, some of these came a bit sooner than many expected, but if you're expecting that in the long term, then even if it happens sooner than you expected, in the long term, that doesn't really make much of a difference unless you are trying to predict where Tesla stock is going to be in the short term, which I think is a big waste of time for the most part. I have been right so far that investors would put almost no value on FSD licensing, Dojo, and Optimus until revenue and earnings implications become clearer. Well, Morgan Stanley already puts potentially quite a bit of value on Dojo, so I'm not sure if Gary's really 100% right about this. And when Morgan Stanley came out with that note, Tesla stock went way up that day. Here's some good Cybertruck news. These are Cybertruck castings at Giga Texas today. All of the castings from Friday, and there were a lot of them, are gone, but a large new batch is out in force today. Sawyer says that it looks like it's a record number of Cybertruck castings spotted at Giga Texas today. I'm not sure about that. We would need to count, but it is certainly a lot. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's actually a record, but what's impressive is that all of the castings from earlier, says Joe, are gone, and these are all new castings. Ford and GM were forced to increase their labor costs because of the union, and now Hyundai said just now it will hike wages for non-union production workers at its Alabama factory by 25% by 2028. So there could be some pressure for Tesla to increase wages as well. But that's 25% by 2028. It's not like they are increasing wages immediately, so that seems more like it's just inflation. Not purely just inflation, although it depends on how much inflation we will have, but it's not really that big of an increase because it's so spread out. And we know that Tesla is working on its Dojo supercomputer, but NVIDIA just introduced their new H200 GPU. It can handle massive amounts of data for generative AI and high-performance computing workloads such as Tesla's neural network training for FSD, which is actually great for Tesla because the more compute Tesla can get its hands on, the better. The faster Tesla can solve full self-driving, and Dojo is more like a plan B or an insurance policy. But now Dojo has sort of been turning into something more than just an insurance policy. So far, the progress seems very promising. So promising, in fact, that Morgan Stanley is very bullish about Dojo. But Elon has said himself before that Dojo is a long shot, but it's a big opportunity, so Tesla is going after it. So it was a bit like an insurance policy for Tesla to have enough compute no matter what. And now it's more like, oh, our system is actually really effective and it works really well for what we are trying to do. In August, Tesla turned on their 10,000 unit H100 GPU. NVIDIA's new H200 GPU is the first to use a new faster memory spec called HBM3E. That brings the GPU's memory bandwidth to 4.8 terabytes per second, up from 3.35 terabytes per second on the H100, and its total memory capacity to 141 gigabytes, up from the 80 gigabytes of its predecessor. And the first H200 chips will be released in Q2 of 2024. The chips are expected to cost tens of thousands of dollars each. And I think this statement right here pretty much sums it up very well. Tesla will load up on these plus H100s, and Dojo, like batteries, they take all the compute they can get. AI is going to be a big part of our lives, so I think it is important to pay attention to a company that is working on these chips. I don't like to be behind. I want to keep up with everything. And YouTube says you should watch this video next, but if you haven't finished watching this video yet, watch this one first. My name is Matt Postius. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.